the decision to reopen schools or not, how to keep our students safe, and the best plan of action for parents and educators is a huge topic right now. Parents are having to weigh the options and maybe asking themselves if traditional schools are still for them or if homeschool is the way to go. Joining us this morning to share her personal experiences and offer some advice for parents who are trying to make the right decision for their family is Sarah Bailey from Love of Learning. Welcome to the show, Sarah.
Thanks, Aubrey.
So you're a mom. You also run a homeschool center in Sacramento. Tell us, what do people think homeschool is versus what it really is?
Right. So the misconception of homeschooling is that mom is directing everything from the dining room table and has to have knowledge on every subject and keeping the kids all engaged all day long. So what homeschooling really is that you may have your kids take classes at a learning center like Love of Learning, or you may find a private tutor. You may reach out for private lessons. So homeschool children really aren't home all day long. It's more boutique schooling. You're finding those boutique type classes and enrolling your children in a personalized education.
Okay. And we know so many parents feel very conflicted right now about what to do for the upcoming school year. We just learned Sac City Unified, Elk Grove Unified, Stockton, Folsom, Rancho Cordova, others across the state, they're all going to be starting school with distance learning, a full distance learning model. Others are still weighing the choice between hybrid schedules, and so far that's the case. Another option is just to take your child out of the traditional system and do homeschooling. Any insight to help parents who want to make the right choice?
Right. It is a tough choice to make. So, and we're all going to be looking like we're going to be distance learning on some level this fall. So I would encourage parents to not create school at home. School is designed for the masses, and you have a couple of children. So set the schedule up so that your children have more say in their education and have them guiding their day a little bit more, so they have more say. They need buy-in into this new way of schooling that we're all going to experience. I would also encourage parents to reach out to families that have been homeschooling for a long time to find out how they manage their days.
What does it take to successfully homeschool? What should parents be thinking about if they're considering the homeschool option?
I think to be successful, you really need to look at the end goal. So the end goal is, what do you want your children to turn out to be as adults? So that will help when you're trying to fight over a math problem and you both losing your temper, that you can take a step back and remember, what is the end goal and what do you want your children to turn out like?
Yeah, that is something you need to keep reminding yourself. I know when we were doing our distance learning at the end of this past school year, like, I was getting frustrated trying to do the math and teach them in the way that they're supposed to know it. So it can be very frustrating, but it is important to maybe take a step back and kind of think of the big picture. Now, can any parent be a homeschool teacher? Are there any formal education requirements?
You know, every parent is a normal parent, so every parent can homeschool. All homeschooling parents that I know of are normal people, and we all have strengths and weaknesses. So if you don't have a subject, you're not a subject expert, farm that out. You can join co-ops, you can have a tutor, you can take classes, there's online options. There's so many resources out there now for homeschooling parents.
That's great to know there's support, and it's not just homeschool you against the world. Another thing I think some parents may fear is that homeschooling is going to limit opportunities for their child. Is there any truth to that?
No, not at all. Most colleges love homeschooling students because they know how to manage their own schedule and they're self-starters. So a lot of colleges really love to get homeschoolers.
Great information. Now, going back to, that support system or the resources, they're not going to be alone. Parents aren't going to be alone in doing this. Talk a little bit more about support that's available for them.
Right. There is so much support for homeschooling parents nowadays. So there are wonderful online classes that students can take. They could come to a learning center like Love of Learning. Tutors are a great resource, as well as private lessons for your child in everything from horseback riding to piano to violin. And so there's as you tap into those resources, you'll find that there's more and more available.
And I guess it really opens it up. You can tailor it to whatever your child's specific interests are when you talk about like violin or piano, etc. I'm sure you've been a little more busy these days as that debate around schools has really ramped up because of the current health crisis. What do you see as the future for homeschooling? Are attitudes going to change?
Well, I think with what happened last spring, a lot of parents realized I can do this. And I've gotten a lot of calls from parents that say their child did a lot better at home than they did at school. And so therefore they are going to continue homeschooling. So I think as more and more parents realize that they build a better relationship with their child when they're home more and they're together more, they can do it. So I think the view of homeschooling will continue to improve.
All right, Sarah Bailey with Love of Learning, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. And you can learn more about homeschooling at lolhomeschool.com.